Chapter 12. Lower Academic Achievement. "How'd you do?" Bush asked after our exams were over.
Hard to tell. You know how it is with multiple choice questions. Some you know, some you guess. On the questions I didn't know, I closed my eyes and came down with the pencil between A and C. Wherever it landed, that was the answer.
"What did you do when it landed on D, or none of the above, or between the letters?" he asked.
Well, the way I see it, a D is just there to trick you. So it's just A through C. If it's in between the lines, it's a do-over.
"Trick you. That's interesting," he said.
The way I figure, it's like if a rooster lays an egg on top of a roof, which way will cause the egg to fall?
"Roosters don't lay eggs!" We both shrieked.
What are you doing today?
I asked. "Playing ball over at the field," he said. "How about you?"
Joe and I have to cut the grass. I don't think I can play. My ankle's sore.
I worried about my report card the rest of the way home. I didn't want to be stuck in the house all summer, and I came through the backyard where Joe was starting the lawnmower. "Hurry up to get this over with," he said.
I have to do some studying, Joe. I won't be able to help you with the grass.
"Why is it that the only time you do any studying is when there is work to do?" I laughed.
I'll be right out.
I changed into my play clothes, thought about leftovers, and grabbed a hunk of leftover meatloaf. I crammed it into my mouth and disappeared out the rear screen door. My job was sweeping the grass clippings from the sidewalk. When Joe was on the last spin around the yard, I went down to the basement to get the broom, thinking about the meatloaf, which hadn't tasted lousy cold. I could hear my mother heading for the bathroom, so I climbed upstairs and quietly opened the refrigerator door. I peeled back the foil and tore off another piece of meatloaf. I was looking for the salt when I heard the water turned off in the bathroom. I quickly wrapped the remainder of the meatloaf, stuffed the piece into my mouth, and disappeared through the back door to sweep up. When I arrived at the field, Bush asked, "You want to play?" I lied and said,
My ankle's fine.
"I'm going to pick you then, and you'll play second. That way you only have to cover a small amount of ground." I stretched my ankle in directions, trying to loosen it up. There was no way I wasn't going to play. "Jimmy, you're up first. You'd better get a hit," Bush warned.
That was a strike, Jimmy.
Yelled the pitcher. "Give him something he can hit," yelled the shortstop. I watched another bad pitch go wide of the home base. "Come on, Jimmy, wait for a good one," Bush yelled. I choked up on the bat. Crack! I lined one down third base, just out of reach of the third baseman's outstretched arms. As I ran down to first, I watched the ball disappear into the weeds and decided I would go for second because it would take the fielder a few seconds to find the ball. I picked up speed and started a wide loop around the first base when my ankle gave way, and I tumbled headfirst into the dirt and coal along the railroad track and rolled over on my back, moaning in agony. The second baseman for the other team ran up and tagged me. "He's out!"
No way!
I screamed. I thought my ankle was broken this time. But when I checked with my mom, she said it was just a bad sprain, and the only thing that would help it heal was rest. I spent the rest of the week back in the house. Some summer this was going to be. The next day, I limped to school, full of worry about my report card. I saw a black limousine and a crowd of men in black suits standing vigilantly in front of the church. When I saw them putting on gray gloves, I realized they were pallbearers for a funeral, and one of them noticed my limp. "Having a hard time, young man?" I nodded toward the hearse.
Save some space for me. It's report card day.
When I took my seat, poor Miss Hope was already passing out the report cards. She handed me mine, and on the front of the yellow envelope was one word which read, "Passed." At least I'd be going on to 8th grade, but I was afraid of what might be inside.
Class is dismissed for the summer,
Miss Hope told everyone. The other students were chattering away and walking out of the classroom, and Miss Hope was waiting for me to open it up. I looked down at the report card again and decided I had to pull it out of the envelope. So I pulled it out but shoved it back in, wondering if there was another way. I could hear the church organ echoing through the school and pictured the priest incensing the casket. I stared at my report card, which winked at me with a yellow smirk.
Here goes. No news like bad news.
I said to Miss Hope. I slipped it out and peeked at it quickly. The organist hit the wrong key, and a flat, ugly chord howled through the school as the report card screeched the letter D.
D for a dimwit.
I mumbled out loud. The organ started up again, and I pictured the dead person leaving the church for the last time. 5 D grades, including the worst of all, a D in conduct, which would send a clear message that I was throwing paper wads and shooting rubber bands at poor Miss Hope when I was supposed to be paying attention. I slipped the report card into its envelope, and the organ wailed its final, irritating chords.
You got a B in writing. I think you could be a writer someday.
Miss Hope said.
Someday is right now, and my summer is over.
I got up, limped to the window, saw the pallbearers sliding the casket into the hearse, and thought about having to stay in the house for 5 weeks. The dead person was luckier than me, and I wanted a change in scenery. Change. I looked at all the D's and decided that all I had to do was draw a line through the middle of each D and change it into a B. I looked down at the report card, then back to the hearse. I could probably survive a 2-week sentence, but not 5. I would only change 3 of the 5 D's into B's. I slowly tucked the report card inside my shirt and said goodbye to Miss Hope. I opened the door and looked down the deserted hallway. Across from me was the restroom. Should I change the D's in there? No. Someone might walk in and I would get caught. The alley seemed like my best shot as I made my way home. I scanned my surroundings for a garbage can with a lid on it, and there wasn't one. So I picked up a cover and placed it on the top of the can and heard the flies buzzing up and hitting the bottom of the lid. I unbuttoned my shirt, pulled out the report card, laid it on the rusty garbage can, and read all the D's as I reached into my pocket for my pen. I carefully swiped the line to transform the first D into a B, and screw me. Miss Hope used a black pen, and I just used a blue pen to make the change from D's to B's. As I limped to prison, I saw the guys gathering for the first baseball game of the summer, and I thought about killing myself and mumbled,
Nothing works out for me.